I started to go with John, I wasn't quite 17. It was the beginning of rock and roll and all those sorts of things when the music was changing. And my cousin Richard first started us going over to the Westbreen Hall. They'd started a dancing school. And he said, come along to the dancing school. There's some boys come down from the bush, from Tokamul. And that's when I went over and met Ian, and then in turn John. When I saw John, he had my cousin sitting on his knee. I thought, oh, that's a bit, So I thought I'll invite him over for dinner. Mum thought he was pretty good. My dad didn't like him at all. Thought, you're not going with him. And when I asked him why not, he said, I don't like the way he's dressing. He's had really thick black hair, really flattened down with Brill cream and long sideburns. None of the boys had cars or anything then. They just couldn't afford them. And if they did have cars, they were really old cars that they had to patch up every time they went out on the road. But that old Vauxhall, that was a funny thing too. He came one night and said, I bought another car today, and really happy with what he'd bought. And I was working in at Little Collins Street, then in the little boutique that I used to work in. And I said, oh, can I come for a drive? And he said, no, not really. And I said, oh yeah, I want to come for a drive. And I was all diddled up with the stockings with the seams in the back, the high heel shoes, the pointy toes and straight skirt, and off we went. But it had no floor in it. And it was pouring with rain, and when I got home, my dad would get upset going out in a car like that with my girl, because I was covered in mud that had sprayed up off the tyres. He was always running out of money. And he'd be going home Saturday night in one of these little cars, and he'd only get so far and run out of petrol. And my dad had the truck parked out the front of the house, and he'd come back with a jerry can, John, and a hose, and ask Dad if he could have some petrol out of his truck. And my dad would have to get up out of bed and siphon the petrol out of the truck into a jerry can, and off they'd go. In the end, my dad bought him a jerry can, filled it with fuel and left it in the garage, and nobody was allowed to touch that. That was Cox's Saturday night fuel. But we still went to the dances every Saturday night, and Saturday night we'd make plans for Sunday. We'd either go to Bulla swimming up there in the creek or go for a picnic somewhere. They were happy days. There was nobody that drank alcohol. There were no drugs that I knew of, and it was all really good. And by this time, my dad was really starting to think John was all right, until he asked him if we could get engaged. Then he didn't like him again. But he made us wait for several weeks. But when John asked him if we could get married, we waited ages until my mum said, why can't they get married? And he said, because she's too young. She's not getting married yet. But we talked him around. So I was 19 in the January. We were married on the 5th of March, 1960. And it was just a perfect day. They'd built a new church in Kent Road. John and I were the second people to be married there, which was pretty special in the new church. We had our reception at the Westbreen Hall. And the week that we were getting married, the Vauxhall died. So we were going to Warrnambool for our honeymoon. And Richard again came to the rescue. He had an old Chev, and he said, oh, take my car, don't worry, don't stay home, take my car. So off we went, and on the way home, the gearbox played up. So we parked it on the side of the road, and we had to hitchhike back to Colac to ring somebody. And a cattle truck pulled up, and here we were in the truck with cattle all in the back. We've been married 55 years that we're both very proud of. And I think the secret is just respect for one another and really our love for one another.